I thought it was
Yeah.
the best the team has looked since opening night, really, which I was in the building for, and they looked great. But it was really
humble
Celtics
brag.
basketball through and through. Yeah. Saw Van Reeves. No good footer he made with
yeah.
how much time was left to
Like
get
30
into
seconds,
4
probably.
or 5. Not that it mattered, but you
Yeah.
shot that. I was like,
whoa. There's the NBA Cup with point difference. Every point matters. We were playing the Bulls, and that was when we were up by 20-something, and Joe was going hack-a-shack at Drummond in the third quarter. Billy Donovan almost took a swing at him. I think the ugliness of that departure is going to be all time.
I will be sitting on the sidelines with popcorn in my hands, watching it all unfold. Trust me.
Absolutely.
Strip the bolts on them. Shoulda never sent them to pick up the work for me. Sprayed the park and had my shit inside the car. Marcus Smart boy was shooting with a 36 on him. Said if he wasn't in the rush, they was all goners. Tech cursive on the Jets, he was gonna Sean John them. They were sleeping on the
Greetings, Chudlings. Welcome to another episode of Chuddy's Corner. Exciting Celtics win on a Tuesday night, our regular season Super Bowl, so to speak. Celtics knocked the Cavaliers from the ranks of the unbeaten, ending their 15-0 start to the season. Also an NBA Cup game, huge game, largely hyped, and I would say for the most part lived up to the hype with the Celtics 120-117 hard-fought win. That one felt good. I'm your host, King Chuddy. Joining me tonight, we have a special guest, recurring guest at that, but first time this season, first time as champions, and first time coming on the show after a win. What's up to NBA analyst Jeff Cupka? How we doing?
Hey, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be on the show. Very happy to be here tonight after a Celtics win. I think I was 0-2 last season in the inaugural Chuddy's Corner season. And good game. Feels good to be hopping on here to talk about a win instead of a loss.
Right.
A lot to get into, but really liked what I saw, not only from the C's tonight, but also the Cavs as well, which we can dive into.
Definitely. And, Jeff says 0-2 last year. You might be thinking, well, that's not that bad. But considering the team went 80-21, 0-2 is almost historically bad luck there. So we're glad to get off the schneid. And anyone out there who's, thinking shame on Jeff and Chuddy for not thinking about that, Jeff immediately did respond when I asked him, saying, are we sure we want to do that? Big game. But, we're saying this year we're moving on. We're the champs now. Enough of that superstition. We're not afraid of anything. Bring it on. And sure enough, they overcame the curse of NBA analyst Jeff Cupka. Now up to a respectable 1-2. And I think we're on the road back. But by the end of the year, I have no doubt that we're gonna have a winning record in Cupka games. So definitely felt good. But yeah, great game. As you mentioned tonight. Felt different. I don't know what percentage of the pie would you say felt different because of the 15-0 versus what percent because of the NBA Cup and kind of being a do or die game for us in that regard?
I asked myself that. I think it was, I want to say 70% 15-0 and 30% NBA Cup do or die game. I'm not discrediting the NBA Cup. Tatum was vocal last year when they lost to Indiana. Had his bags packed for Vegas. I think that does matter to these guys, and he was disappointed, so they want to go to Vegas. I don't know if I personally want them going to Vegas in the middle of the season, but that's another argument. I think tonight, though, was about 15-0. I think you could see it from both sides during the whole game, especially towards the end. I thought it got real chippy. Mitchell was all over the floor. Tatum was going hard. He had that dog in him tonight. I think the Celtics wanted to make a statement win tonight.
Definitely, and I'm with you. I think it was 70 to 80%. Just that team coming in 15-0. Obviously, only one team had ever started. I think won the next game and started 16-0 or better. That Cavs team that started. That Warriors team, Freudian slip, that started 24-0. So yeah, total measuring stick game. Is there the hot 15-0 team? We're obviously the defending champs, and I think you saw that right from the start. And Dugouts and I have talked on recent episodes about the team. I don't want to say coming out flat, but just clearly not coming out as locked in as they might be for a playoff game. Again, one of those things where once you're the champions, don't really mind that. It's okay. Last year, we probably would have been freaking out. But tonight, you saw it from the word go. I mean, the Cavs have been the best offense in the league. We held them with 20 points in the first quarter, making them work their asses off for everything. And an extension of that, really, in the second quarter, I thought really that whole first half, like you said, a statement to the Cavs, to the entire East, to the entire league that, hey, until further notice, the records can say whatever you want, but the NBA and especially the East Coast through us.
That second quarter, the game started out a little slow on both sides. I think we started 1 for 5, Cavs 1 for 6 shooting early on.
Yep.
And then I don't know if it was Brown or Tatum hit a 3 that kind of got us going. And then second quarter, I think we won 39-28. Absolute 3 barrage. I thought it was the best the team has looked since opening night, really, which I was in the building for. And they looked great. But it was really Celtics basketball. Through and through. Yeah. Saw banner race, no big deal. But that was an amazing quarter. That being said, I never thought the Cavs were out of it. It's the NBA. 20-point runs happen all the time. And especially given the work they were doing in the paint, I think they almost doubled us up there tonight. And just Mobley, outworking us down the glass, as did Allen. I didn't think the Cavs were out of it, and they showed that in the second half and in that third quarter.
Yeah, impressive stuff by the Cavs. I think it was, a 17-point game at half, but it didn't really feel like a 17-point game. It was pretty nip and tuck, and we were hitting all our threes. Usually we hit threes like that, the other team kind of goes away, especially because the Cavs really weren't making any threes. But as has been the common theme, when any team kind of gives us any trouble, it's those points in the paint, and that number started to add up, especially like you mentioned in that third quarter. They came out, could have rolled over, but no, they made, I think, a little bit of a statement. It was a statement off, I guess, because I think they made a statement that, hey, maybe we're not the Celtics, but we're real contenders. We're not, just this hokey up and coming bunch from Cleveland anymore. Like, they're legit. They went toe to toe with us, and I think made a little statement that they're not going to take it. They're going to push back, and a lot of it was inside, like you said. Mobley, I swear, I watch the Cavs and the NBA a lot. Mobley's a really good player, but it does seem like some of his best performances are against us. He turns into another guy, especially down low, and he's hitting threes tonight, doing a little bit of everything, bunch of dunks. Allen as well. Both played great. Saw a great Mitchell game. Another kind of poor Garland game, but again, a lot of that I thought was just us getting into him. You could see right from the word go, the Jays picking up both of their stars a lot of time up at half court and beyond. Just little things like that pickup point. You could tell meant a little more. It was a little different. And like you said, probably the best we've seen them locked in, at least from the tip. We've probably seen them play better in stretches at certain points this year, especially some of the second half we've turned it on. But in terms of coming out right from the jump with what looked like a playoff type of intensity, I thought since opening night it was there. And again, anyone I think is crazy at this point who still has like doubts or concerns or is like, oh, I'm annoyed by these lackadaisical starts. Like, I think that should have eased some pressure. We jump out to an 18-8 lead and are playing defense like that against the team that's been the class of the NBA so far this season.
The defense, I thought, to start the game and to end that first half was elite, like playoff level defense, making everything difficult for Mitchell and Garland off the dribble, switching where we needed to. It was very, very crisp. So not even talking about the offense clicking how it did in the second quarter, but just the level of defense that was being played. I think by us and by the Cavs, I thought it was playoff level basketball.
Definitely. It was playoff level basketball, and you could feel it again, right through the screen from the word go. The place was loud, the place was rocking, the intensity was up on both ends, and at least at the beginning, I thought they were letting them play pretty physically, which I'm always okay with as long as it's consistent. Definitely had some issues with the refs as the game went on. The Tony Brothers show is never a fun one, but hey, we try to talk about it as little as possible. It's just kind of an unfortunate side effect of the game almost at this point. But there were some brutal ones, but at least in the first half, again, when it felt like an intense physical battle both ways, letting them go. And the Celtics were, for the most part, I thought, getting the best of it. And you mentioned the threes, and it's like a cliche, but the defense really does lead to offense. When we're playing defense like that, we're getting out in transition. The energy's up. We're moving the ball, and it seems like the threes are just like almost a natural consequence. When we start playing that way, it's like we almost can't not get great shots. And tonight we were knocking them down at a high clip. And like you said, that second quarter especially, it was like, okay, this feels like that juggernaut Celtics basketball where the snowball's just rolling down the hill on the other team, and there's not much they can do about it. And again, that's a team that up until this point, nobody had been able to stop them all year. So impressive stuff from the Celtics. And of course, as we mentioned, pretty much every episode without their defensive anchor and starting center, Kristaps Porzingis.
Exactly. Very important disclosure. Broadly speaking, I thought this was a big Tatum statement game as well. If we're talking statement offs, thought he was the best player on the court all night. And beyond just the scoring, the rebounding, the playmaking, I thought he had and I've seen this multiple games throughout the year. I thought he was carrying himself with a little swagger, a little meanness tonight that you might not have seen with him in the past. And that's all because he's got the confidence of having won a championship at this point. But even little things, I know we'll talk about the end of game sequence in a second, but even that foul on Mitchell towards the very end of the game where he was going for the ball and knocked Mitchell to the ground, I kind of love that. Because he was trying to make a play, and Mitchell was kind of wreaking havoc on us, trying to get them back into the game. And Tatum kind of made a statement. Again, I'm overusing that word, but knocked him on his ass, put him on the floor, and I liked to see that. I thought that was kind of a indictment on the whole game that he played up until that point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I thought he definitely, again, I mean, as the whole team was, but it's kind of, you're a reflection of your stars. And when your stars come out with that kind of intensity, whether it was Tatum, I thought on offense, going right to the rack right away, pushing people around, or Brown, picking up Mitchell right as he was touching half court on defense. When your stars have that kind of energy and intensity, it's impossible for the role players not to follow suit. And that's where you see the whole team with that kind of energy. I thought there were times, especially in that third, where Tatum was like, veering dangerously into getting too frustrated with the officials, as he was not getting the whistle that he's become somewhat more used to getting to lately. I mean, tough whistle again. Hate to use that as an excuse, but for the most part, statement by Tatum coming out, grabbing those rebounds against a team that, we're all about Mobley, Allen, those two bigs without our starting center. It seems like these are nights where, Tatum usually at the 4 is, even in the modern NBA, is probably as big or bigger than the guy he's going up against. But on a night like this, obviously, it's like he's going against a true post player, and you can see him kind of ready to take that on with like a grown man, almost bully ball mentality, which against that team and those guys, super impressive. So yeah, can't say enough about that from Tatum.
Boards he gets aren't, gimme rebounds. Like he's getting above the rim, snatching, snaring, and going up the court. He earns those. So yeah, we needed that from him. He's standing next to Allen at the free throw line. I swear he's taller than Jared Allen.
He probably is.
Like, he looks bigger than the dude, and Allen's a known beast on the board. So just credit to him, because we need every bit of what he gives us down there to make possessions happen. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I thought, Brown as well, taking over with some of that bully ball down the stretch, seemed like he had a few of those drives where he's just like, all right, if Mitchell or Garland is on me, or even Niang, Merrill, almost anyone, he's like, I'm just basically going through you for like a layup or a short jumper. And it's just a crazy offense to have when things bog down. Like, just give it to Jaylen, and he will just basically muscle his way inside for 60% like type of look. And then, you got Derrick White hitting you too.
I didn't think it was pretty from Jaylen tonight, but he got tough buckets when we needed him to.
And I mean, man, let's not let us pass up on that. What really was kind of the dagger, I thought, that drive by Brown where he had that impressive blow by to the right and then went up and finished so smoothly with almost like the George Gervin finger roll high off glass right over Mobley. Got knocked to the floor, could have been a foul. Like, what an unbelievably smooth move from a guy who we still tend to forget. A few years ago, people were like, this guy can't even dribble. And now it's to be making like an and one type of move like that in crunch time to basically seal the game. It's just like, Jesus, man, when it's going.
The play of the game. Play of the game up until that point. There was another sequence. I think we may have buried the lead in this game and probably stepping on the toes of the was it Chuddy? Forget what it's called. We'll talk about it in a second, but Al Horford played an amazing game tonight.
Oh, my God.
You could tell the rest he had, the 2 days rest. He was a force. There was a sequence where I think he had back-to-back blocks, and the second block led to an incredible sequence where he blocked it, got it, ran it up the court in the third quarter, pushed the tempo, kicked it to Tatum in the corner. Tatum drives, kicks it out to Pritchard for a deep three where things were kind of teetering in that quarter. It was getting close. That three by Pritchard put us back up 7, and we didn't really look back from there. I think a lot of that all started with Al tonight. He's incredible. I don't know how he still does it. He's 38. Everybody loves to talk about LeBron, year 21 or whatever he's in now. Al deserves just as much credit because he's still getting it done at a high level.
Yeah. Can't say enough about Al, and it is incredible. So I think what you're alluding to is we say, get sick of people saying Al's turning back the clocks, because it's at what point it's not turning back the clocks. This is just who 38-year-old Al is. Yeah. So, but he definitely has another level. And for games like this, you could tell when he has that little extra juice. And I think the 2 days off definitely helps, as they had the 2 days off before the last game and then another 2 days off. So he was super fresh, but I think he definitely gets himself fired up for games that he knows have a little extra. And a night, tonight, we're again going against a star-studded front line, 2 big guys. He knows he's going to have to step it up and carry the mail. And boy, did he. I don't know what he finished. He was 4 or 5 on threes at one point. I think he had 20 points, 7 rebounds on the night, 4 or 5 from 3, and 3 blocks.
And he was a plus
18, team high. No surprise. Yeah, just unreal. Just whatever you need. That guy, man, unbelievable. You mentioned with LeBron. I always say LeBron and Brady have like spoiled it for everyone else, because now everyone just assumes, people
you can do that
till they're 40, and then they've just like normalized it, and you see the disaster that Aaron Rodgers is, and it's like, we probably should have expected this out of a 40-year-old coming off an Achilles tear. Like, there's no, and with these other guys, we don't give probably nearly enough credit to even Chris Paul, James Harden, Al Horford, guys who, if LeBron didn't exist, we'd be like, this is absolutely incredible. But since LeBron's playing, at a near MVP level, we're like, Chris Paul, he's washed. This is embarrassing. It's like, no, we should praise that he's still doing this at that age. But yeah, to see it from Al, and we don't need to see it too many times in the regular season. But just for him to have 3 or 4 of these regular season, these statement games that, hey, like, playoffs come, I'll be ready. He was absolutely awesome on both ends tonight, and we needed it.
Needed it, especially because the Cada minutes tonight weren't great, in my opinion. I think they got the Cavs, and Kenny Atkinson did a really good job of getting him in the action on many occasions. And love Cada. He's been a revelation so far this year. But he had a really tough time dealing with that tonight. And you could tell because Joe, I think, towards the end of the game was kind of subbing him in and out with Al to give Al a blow, but make sure they could use Al on the offensive and defensive end when they needed it and I think that he was trying to match it up with when Mitchell came out, because Mitchell was just absolutely torching Cada in the action whenever he had the chance.
Yeah, no, that was it felt like, the Cada experience. By the end of that third quarter, it was like we just can't survive with him on the floor. Like you said, they were seeking him out every single possession, and it turned ugly for a few minutes there. I mean, credit to Cada. I went into this not wanting to be too harsh on him, because it is amazing. He's gone from a guy on a 2-way contract who was like late to the game, had even bounced around the league, and it just didn't seem like this guy really had any future. And even last year, he was kind of like a nice, fun story when we needed minutes. But he came in, and it's like he's already passed Tillman and Cornette in the pecking order, and he's been a rock solid NBA center. But tonight was one of those nights where it's like, kind of a wake up call and a reminder that in a game that has playoff-like intensity and where the team is being so purposeful with what they're doing on every single possession, he basically got played off the floor. So again, shouldn't be an issue in bigger games when Porzingis is healthy, Al is healthy. But I was interested they didn't try at either of Tillman or Cornette, because those Cada minutes, especially by the end of the third quarter, it was an automatic basket for them basically every trip down the floor.
I think I know the answer to this, because Joe gets the leeway now, having won a championship last year with this team. But when things were not going off the rails, but the Cavs were chipping into the lead in the third quarter, I think I made a note after made 3, I forget who it was, where maybe call a timeout here, Joe. And he let him play through it, I think, the entire quarter. I don't think he called a single timeout as they beat us 40-28, I think it was in the third quarter. I don't know if I have that right. Was it? Yeah, 40-28.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to me, but I know that's Joe's style. I don't know if, going away from Cada there and getting some Cornette minutes or some Tillman minutes would have been the move. But hey, it all worked out, so who cares?
Yeah, and again, you're kind of afforded those luxuries where it's like, look at how much progress Cada has already made. So I think he's kind of earned the rights to play through some rough minutes and some growing pains, and the fact that he's become a very legitimate rotation big man. If there's going to be other times where we're going to count on him, hey, letting him play through some mistakes and try to hang on the court in a game like this where he's got guys like Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell hunting him out every single possession. And I thought he had some some good looks where you're just like, he switched on to Mitchell and he makes a step back jumper in your face. It's like, you can't ask for much more. If it's Bam or Horford doing that, you're saying good D, but since Kate is getting roasted, we're like, what the fuck? So some of that is just going to happen. So again, like you said, it's you look at everything differently when you're a champion. So yeah, if this is last year, we're like, Mazzulla, what are you doing? Call the timeout, get Kate out of there. This year, we're like, psychological warfare by Joe. What a genius. Like, he's getting Cater ready for the playoffs or whatever. So you can kind of spin anything now into a positive. It's beautiful.
I've heard you guys talk about it on previous episodes, and I feel the same way. These games just don't take nearly as many years off my life as they used to pre-championship. So yeah, we can run with it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Darius Garland, though, thank God he turns into like Kyrie Irving against the Celtics in a bad way.
It's like the opposite of Mobley.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And he is. I feel like I don't have the stats in front of me to back it up, but I feel like he is demonstrably worse against the Celtics versus whatever other teams he plays against. And
he's been excellent this year. In general.
I know. Yeah.
A true 1B to Mitchell's 1A. Like legitimately.
Yeah.
But
I know that, but for whatever reason when he plays us,
I feel like he always tonight. Insane.
I think he always just has those ridiculously poor shooting nights against us. And if they had even half of what he's been this season tonight, I think we're probably talking about a different result, but hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, and I think some of it is just luck, but I think some of it, if you just kind of go through and think about it logically, I'd say 90% of the time, probably maybe more, Donovan Mitchell's taking the other team's best perimeter defender, so Garland's usually facing somewhat of a lesser defender. He's getting somewhat less attention, and he's running units against the bench when Mitchell's sitting, so things are working out. Obviously, he's a very good player too, but against the Celtics, we've usually got one of the Jays guarding Mitchell. So just thinking that leaves Drew Holiday and Derrick White, the best backguard combo in the league, to basically take turns on Garland. So how many nights a season are there where Garland is facing a top 5 guard defender pretty much every possession of the entire game? And again, the Celtics, with their size on the perimeter, have a way to make a guy like Garland look small. He is small, but even smaller than usual. So obviously a tough matchup for him, but I still think the 3 of 21, and he's had some other games where it's like he just cannot buy a basket. So weird to see, and especially we've talked here how a big part of, I think, their 15-0 start has been that it's not just like the Mitchell and everyone else show. It's all 4 of those guys playing really well. And then even in crunch time, it's been like, we'll have a Garland game, we'll have a Mitchell game. They've both been putting up huge stats. So the Celtics even being able to completely corral one of them obviously makes a huge difference. And that's how you hold what's been the best offense in the NBA to what, one? I mean, I guess it ended up being 117, but I think a lot of those points were kind of aesthetic in the last few minutes, playing the foul game, going back and forth. I thought overall, the defense did a really good job.
Yeah, but I mean, kudos to the Cavs tonight. They were also missing, I think, LeVert, Okoro, and Strus, right? So we're missing KP. Both teams shorthanded, so I'd say it's kind of a wash, maybe whatever you want to call it. But I think they're a legit team. I don't watch every Cavs game. I haven't seen them leading up to this run that they've had. So they impressed me tonight. I'm happy for Kenny Atkinson. I feel like he got kind of screwed over when he was coach of the Nets, for lack of a better term. Yeah. I thought he was a good coach when he was coaching the Nets, and then I think Harden came in and Durant, and they kind of pushed him out.
Yeah,
so,
we're the coach. It was a we're the coach now situation, I think. Whoa, what's all this coaching you're doing? We got this.
Yeah, I think he deserved another job, and clearly, he does, given how they performed not only tonight, but leading up to the game tonight as well. So I'm happy to see him doing well, and I think we're going to be seeing them again down the road, no question.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, I mean, I think as much as we're pumped about the Celtics playing the way they did for the most part, getting the win, I think the Cavs definitely proved something to us as Celtics fans, and not that. I think we already took them seriously. Like, they didn't have to prove a lot to me. Even last year when they were so banged up, I thought they gave us a good battle in the playoffs. They always play us tough. But I think this year it's pretty clear they've even turned another corner, playing the best they have. And Kenny Atkinson, of course, a big part of that. And yeah, people are probably scoffing at the notion that you said it's basically a wash because Porzingis obviously is the big star of the guys missing. But for the Cavs, they obviously have those stud guards, those stud bigs. they're really, really weak on the wing. So actually missing LeVert and Okoro is a pretty massive difference for them and Strus. Okoro, I mean, he's that guy who would be guarding Tatum for most of the game, stuff like that. So you saw Tatum getting to go against guys like Sam Merrill, George Niang, who are doing their best. Yeah, Craig Porter Jr., who, man, that guy, he
actually played
seems like he doesn't miss when he goes in there. He's a good little player that I think they found on a two-way last year. Pretty impressive job by them. But, yeah, great game. NBA regular season game, you can't ask for much more. I was hyped for this one. And like you said, having won that championship, get to enjoy it a little more. I wasn't freaking out the way that, I think last year, a big hyped up national TV game like this, if we were up 17 at the half and getting down to 2, I'd be freaking out. But I'm taking more of the Missoula approach this year, just embracing the opportunities to compete. And it ends up being, a fun little win. We get some crunch time against the NBA's best team and toe to toe and come out on top. So all great stuff. Yeah, pretty exciting.
Yeah. Where does Donovan Mitchell rank amongst players you fear to pop off against the Celtics in the playoffs? If you had to rank him, who ranks above him? Because I think he might be number 1 to me in the East.
Yeah, I mean, in the East, he's honestly probably he's got to be one of the top 5 just players overall in the East. In terms of that, I mean, I think in a very different way, I think it's got to be Giannis. He's that guy. You seem like you slow him down. He's got 40 and 15 on you, but it's a very different type of going off.
Yeah, but I almost feel like Al has always Giannis is going to get his, and it's like that's who he is. But Al's always kind of matched up well, quote unquote,
that's true.
well against Giannis.
No, that is true.
Mitchell, I feel like we don't have anybody who can stay in front of him, and he can just go for a 50 burger on any given game. Not that he can do that over like 4 times over the course of a 7-game series, but when he's going like he was going in spurts tonight.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's any other player out there that I'm like, oh god, he's gonna make that. Like the 30-footer he made with how much time was left to
like
get
30
it to
seconds,
like 4
probably.
or 5. Not that it mattered, but you knew when he shot that. I was like,
there's the NBA Cup with point difference. Every point matters.
Yeah, I heard Drew say that the last bucket, I think it was Niang, that as time expired, he said that was cosmetic. I was like, no, it's not cosmetic.
I said the same thing. It's really not. That's big. Yeah, hurts our massive swing in point differential. So now, I mean, we're talking about it. So now NBA Cup, we're now 1-1. So Atlanta's 2-0 in this is group. What are we? Group C in the East, Group B. I don't even know. But in our group, anyway, Atlanta's 2-0. Us and the Cavs are now 1-1. And then it's the Bulls and the Wizards, I believe, are 0-1.
We play the Wizards Friday, correct?
Yeah. So we still have the Wizards and the Bulls. So at least in theory, that should be the chance to run it up. Although, I mean, again, it's not like the Hawks are some amazing team. They played well against us. But I think I'd say there's a good chance the Cavs can win their other 2 games. And then the Hawks would need to win 1. So we're looking at if we can win, it could very easily be a 3-way tie at 3-1, so it will very, very possibly come down to that point differential. And we didn't trim a ton off because I think the Cavs and Hawks both had like a plus double digits. We were obviously -1 and only won by 3, so now we have a +2 differential. So I think we'll still be in 3rd place in the group. But if we beat the Bulls and Wizards and run up the score on both of them, we'll probably advance. So the Cup dreams are alive. We do want the Cup. We do want the treble this season. We're going for it.
One Boston sports team has to take home a Cup this year, and it's not going to be the Bruins.
Exactly. This is our best chance at a Cup.
Their coach.
Yeah. Did you see Joe's comment on that, by the way?
No, I did not.
He asked him about it, and he said, he's basically, well, I feel bad. We all get hired to eventually get fired. So... typical Joe, very, very profound on the matter. Borderline ruthless. Yeah, but
that's
just
awesome.
perfectly Joe in every sense.
But so this whole NBA Cup scenario happened to the Magic last year with the point differential. Correct, if I remember correctly. They got boxed out, and it was the Pacers and the Celtics, or no?
Yeah.
Pacers and the Celtics advanced, despite those 3 teams being 3-1. So we definitely want to avoid that.
Were the Pacers in our group? Vegas. Is
I
that
feel like I feel like there's
all
one
right?
other team, maybe not the Pacers, but I know the
Yeah.
Magic ended up getting boxed out. I think they
Okay.
beat us in an NBA Cup
I
group
think we
play
won the
game.
group, and it was over the Magic. I recall in the last group game, I remember we were playing the Bulls, and that was when we were up by 20 something, and Joe was going hack a shack at Drummond in the third quarter. Billy Donovan almost took a swing at him. That was classic. And the funny part is, I think we're setting up for the same scenario because isn't it?
Yeah,
I think the Wizards are next, and then the Bulls are our last cup
Bulls
game.
are in the last.
So,
Yeah,
and we might very well need to win that game by a lot to advance. So, that would just be perfect. Unfortunately, Drummond is not on the Bulls anymore, but I'm sure we can find a new target. That was absolutely hilarious. So,
say what you want about the Emiratis NBA Cup. They got more money in there this year, but it
yeah,
does play for some unique, fun November basketball. I forgot about
yeah,
all the point differential drama last year. You just refreshed my memory, so I'm looking forward to that now
yeah.
again.
I'm a big fan of the cup. I like it. I think the games have been fun. Obviously, this game was the game of the year tonight. It worked out great all around. We had the Mavs Warriors game last week with Clay's return to the Bay. It was awesome, and it's just been good games all around. Like you said, the point differential adds even a little more flair to it. And I just all the people who are haters on it are just that. They're just haters because it's like these games would be happening anyway. They just wouldn't be NBA Cup games. So like it can't make it worse. If anything, it just makes it a little
No,
better. It seems like the players care too. Like so it seems like the
I figure
level is a little higher than it would be if these were just random mid-November regular season games. So like what the hell? Why not have a little fun? Stop being such a hardo.
they
Not
figured
you,
out the
just people in
Celtics.
general.
They figured out the Celtics court too for it too, which is
Way better.
ideal.
Yeah, I think
Way
this is,
better.
I like it. I've heard a lot of people not liking the court. I think it's fine. I mean, it's bright, but
You got the
I really
parquet in
don't
there
mind it.
though.
Yeah,
That's
I think it's
all
kind of
you
cool.
need.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's unique.
I'm into it. So no, we're all about the cup, like we've been saying all year. We want the title, the NBA Cup, and the G League title. We want the treble. Bringing the treble home would just be absolutely huge. So big step in the right direction because this was really the toughest challenge. And if we had lost tonight, I mean, I would say we'd have less than a 1% chance of advancing. So massive win for a number of reasons, not least of which is that we are alive and well on the road to the NBA Cup. So great stuff all around. Now up to 12-3 on the season. And just impressive stuff. What more do you got? Anything else you want to say on this game, or should we give out some Chuddy Chains?
I like the Chuddy Chain. I
All
think
right,
you know where I'm going to go with it.
go ahead.
Based on the comments earlier, it's got to be Al Horford. I thought Tatum was great tonight, but I think Horford had some energy plays that were much needed that kind of kept us afloat as the Cats were chipping away at that lead in the third and the fourth. So it's Horford. He was amazing tonight. Some big blocks, just flying around and getting vertical. A couple blocks, I think one on Levert on a layup that he just swatted and took the other way. So
Yeah.
I thought he was fantastic tonight.
Yeah, that certainly would have been my choice tonight. Can't go wrong with Al. Can't go wrong with either of the Jays. But I'm gonna give it to Derrick White. I thought quietly just phenomenal, so solid. 19, 6, and 5 had a huge block down the stretch. Ice in his veins in the fourth quarter, per usual. Hit a couple of big threes and had a little shot where he got into his mid-range pull up out of a timeout. That was just a massive basket when I think they had cut it to 2 or 3 again. So. Just continues to be such a delight, the entire D White experience, and especially to have a guy who can almost take over at times in the fourth, and it's every time he shoots in the fourth, you just expect it to go in at this point. So a guy who we've all known what he can do on defense, but he's a true baller on offense too. So I thought his clutch performance especially was unreal tonight, and so for that he's earned my Chuddy Chain. But a lot of worthy recipients.
Any shot of him being an all-star this year? I haven't been keeping up with it. I know it's early too.
Yeah.
So
I think there's definitely a shot. I mean, we'll see. The way the East is going, like there's, I think, only 2 teams. We saw them both tonight that are over 500 in the East. There might be a few more teams on the margins. So I think there's a real chance we see 3 or 4 All-Stars from the Celtics. And he would clearly be the third guy, and obviously Jaylen had a kind of slow start. Then I think he missed 4 or 5 games with a hip flexor. So if for whatever reason Jaylen missed more time, I think White would almost be a lock. Again, assuming the East kind of holds like this, the Celtics are definitely getting at least 2 All-Stars, and I think 3 is totally in play. So yeah, no, I mean, I would say there's a very real possibility for that.
Pritchard in there as well. Why not?
Yes, exactly. Get all of them in there. Why the hell not? All right. Anyway, before we dive into some topics around the NBA, we'll pay some bills. So special thanks to our sponsor, Nick Perino Real Estate, nickperino.com, nickpiraino.com. Nick Perino's got you covered all of your real estate needs, buying, selling, renting, squatting, doesn't matter. He will help you out. He will get you in a home, or he will get you out of a home, whatever you need. Kid is absolutely obsessed with moving. He moves like 4 times a week. It seems like. I think he just does it for fun, just for the practice. It's like sport to him. So loves all things real estate, and also loves the Celtics. Good guy. Even if you're not looking to move, you can just call him, go on his website, leave him a comment about the Celtics. He will respond and shoot the shit with you in that sense as well. So all around great guy, whether you need real estate or NBA stuff covered, he's got you. nickperino.com. All right. Moving on around the NBA, got to talk about the biggest story in the NBA right now that's kind of taken over, and that is the disaster of our, I can't even call them rivals, our wannabe rivals, I guess. They aspire to be our rivals. Of course, I'm referring to the Philadelphia 76ers. Last night, they played the Miami Heat, built up a 19-point first half lead, which quickly turned into a 20-point deficit. They fell to 2-11 on the season. It was ugly. It was really ugly. Embiid looked awful. Paul George doesn't look good. Maxi's still hurt. Thank God they struck gold on the late round pick of Jared McCain, who looks like the favorite for Rookie of the Year. He's been amazing. Other than that, he's been the lone bright spot.
TikTok dances.
Yeah, they're great. And I'm sure the locker room loves that. But you can't really make fun of him because he's been easily their best player. The stars have been bad. All the guys they signed, Caleb Martin, he doesn't have that Heat magic. He looks terrible. Eric Gordon looks completely washed. Lowry looks completely washed. Drummond looks completely washed. It's fun, you know. Couldn't happen to a nicer group of guys. But anyway, I'm still kind of beating around the bush. So after this loss, they don't come out for their media availability till an hour later. It comes out today per Shams that there was a team meeting. And among other things in that meeting, Tyrese Maxey called out Embiid for being late, quote, for everything. So just saying that he's basically setting a bad example, not helping them build a good habits, a good culture, just that, you know, not being a good leader, basically not caring enough, something that I think people have kind of talked about things like this for years, where like, does he want it bad enough? He's never in shape, this, that, and the other, whatever, but it seems like it's coming to a head. Also, I guess Embiid pushed back that he didn't understand how he was being used. I guess at one point the players said they wanted to be coached harder and more intensely. All kinds of great stuff like this coming out. So that's really never good 13 games into a do or die season. Man, I don't even know what to say about this. I love the Schadenfreude as a sports fan is like one of maybe my favorite things. I cheer when the Yankees get eliminated every year, like it's like I've won the World Series. You know, the Lakers, the Philly, when these teams are bad, I just get so much joy out of it. So this is absolutely amazing to watch.
Yeah, I was thinking, do I start to feel bad for Philly fans? Like an inkling of bad for Philly fans? I don't.
No.
I think there's still time to turn things around. I don't think they're out of it yet. I'm not going to throw dirt on them and say that they can't, you know, turn it around and put some games together.
But what would turning it around be at this point? Yeah, like when you 2-11. I mean, that's,
you know, I know it's pretty bad.
What's realistic outcome, even if everything clicks into place right now? Which, based on the recent games, it doesn't look like there's any reason to think that'll happen.
I think turning it around
wins?
is. Maybe, do you even need 50 wins in the East this year?
Well,
I think turning it around would be getting into the. I think turning around would be getting into the playoffs and Embiid getting lucky and staying healthy for the playoffs, which he's never done. So I know that's a big ask. And they get out of the second round and somehow make a Eastern Conference Finals with Paul George and Maxey being the best player on their team, which I think he might be at this point. That would be turning around and letting Maxey drive the culture and be the leader in that locker room, and letting Embiid just be the second piece, because he's not a leader. He hasn't been. He's not the guy that you build a team around. He's super talented. He can fill up a stat sheet, but if you want gamers, if you want killers, I think Maxey's been that guy for them. And I think you just need a shift in how that locker room works with one another. Easier said than done. There's egos involved. I get it, but I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that's the formula for them to turn things around. Do I believe that's going to happen? No. I think Philly is going to be trading Embiid in the offseason, is where they're headed, but I don't want to throw dirt on them quite yet.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I guess they definitely are alive for the playoffs. I mean, the East, as we've mentioned, is a disaster. Like, mathematically speaking, they're not that far behind. I just think we've seen this before. You really have to be a top seed, like, in the NBA to make a run. Like, you're not sneaking in as a 6 seed and making a run. Like, the Sixers, unless you're the Heat. The Sixers are like the anti-Heat when it comes to that. So they are definitely not, like, that's just not happening.
What seed were the Pacers last year?
The 3 seed, weren't they?
Were they?
Yeah.
Can't remember.
I think they were.
Okay. All right,
but yeah, I mean, I guess it's not completely outside of the realm of possibility. The only pushback, I guess, we've seen Maxey be the guy without Embiid, and that looks like a lottery team. So I think Maxey's really good, and I get what you mean. And this, seems like he might have more of the alpha personality. But I think Embiid is your best player, and if he's not going to play like it, then they have no chance. Paul George and Maxey are very good players, but they have to be the 2 and the 3 in some order.
I just want to see, again, don't think this will happen, but I think the Sixers as an organization misled Philly fans and how they were going to treat Embiid this year from a rest perspective.
Well,
and everybody is really pissed off about that right now. And then there's also obviously this added drama that we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
That changes things a little, but who knows? Maybe at the end of the year, Embiid can actually make it through a couple rounds of playoff series. But I don't know. They needed to try something different, because what they were doing wasn't working for his health.
That's fair, but they're going to end up having to burn him out just to make the playoffs. Like, it sounds great to rest him in theory. When you're 2-11, you can't do it.
But if they can figure some things out, they can get to 500 this year and be a 6 seed in the East.
I don't think that's going to happen without him playing a shitload of dough. I don't know.
I'm just trying to make the case. I'm a notorious mush, and the last thing I want to do is throw dirt on them and then have it come back to have it be on the record and come back to bite me. But that's their formula. That's what they got to be hoping for if you're a Philly fan.
Well, yeah, that's certainly what they're hoping for and what they're talking themselves into. They basically have to. They traded their first round pick. It's protected top 6. So basically, if Embiid gets hurt again tomorrow, then they might just be like, we need to tank and get in the top 6 because we are fucked.
Cooper flag.
But otherwise, without an injury, like, they can't do that because that's way too big of a risk with the lottery. Now, there's no guarantee. They could be the worst team in the league and not get the pick, or, well, maybe not mathematically the worst, but anyway. That's not really a realistic outcome at this point, so they have to talk themselves into it. A couple things. One, I think that the Philly fans have been like, maybe I think everyone knows the reputation about Philly fans. We've seen how they treat certain people. I feel like they've given Embiid probably as long of a leash as like any Philly star I can remember, where it seems like he's generally still beloved, but there's been a lot of times where he tests them. Well, and I was going to say, I think the turn is kind of starting, and I think if things don't improve, it's headed for like an all-time ugly exit, where they just hate each other, the fans and Embiid.
I think they've already turned on him, to be quite honest with you.
Perhaps some. I think they're still clinging. Like, I still think what they're doing with Embiid is better than whatever they could do without Embiid. So it's like, we have a guy who's clearly, when right, one of the best guys in the league, and that in itself is worth, like, keep trying to do it with him until we definitely can't. But as soon as that realization happens, and whether he asks out or he's just a little bit washed and they decide, they're not, whatever happens, like you said, if he gets traded, I think the ugliness of that departure is going to be all time.
I will be sitting on the sidelines with popcorn in my hands, watching it all unfold. Trust me.
Absolutely. And then the other thing, I couldn't help but think of this. How much, if any, I guess, do you think that, like, when this story comes out about Embiid just not showing up on time, never being in shape, all of this stuff, is it kind of like I don't know, is it unfair to go back and kind of attribute this to the process in general, what he was drafted into, coming into an organization that was as unprofessional as any in sports, openly basically strategizing to lose and rest good players with the intent of losing for several years? Like, is any of this a result of that? And I think especially look at how the career of Ben Simmons played out. Like, those are kind of the two faces of the process. And now they're largely being defined as guys who just, like, aren't serious enough about basketball to maximize their talents and to get you to the promised land in the NBA. Is that just kind of
like how they were nurtured to be as players because of the organization they came
how
up
much
through?
Cause and effect is there? I mean, is that just kind of an unfair
like
coincidence, or
it's a nature versus nurture question?
Well,
at the end of the day,
good argument for all the people who don't want to tank and think that it's not worth it because of the culture and the habits and all that stuff. And I mean, at a certain point, it's like all these fucking things keep happening to this team, and it's like at a certain point, it can't just be a coincidence that all this shit is happening to the team that, like, became the poster child for tanking. Not ethically.
I think it's a combination of, I think it's partly that. I do think there's just some unfortunate injury unluckiness with Embiid that is just always going to plague him. That certainly shouldn't have been a surprise when Philly drafted him.
Well, of course. And I mean, he didn't play for his first 2 seasons, so they knew what they were signing up for.
They knew what they were signing up for. I also have always maintained just that type of player in today's NBA isn't going to be able to carry you throughout a playoff series. Which you can build around that, but when he's your guy and he's huffing and puffing for buckets at the end of games and can't make it through 7-game series, it's probably a question they should have asked a while ago before giving him another big contract. What was it, last year?
What do you make of? What do you make of that guy in Denver?
Yeah, no, that's fair, but he's not. He's not a black hole with the ball. He's different. He's completely.
I don't even think Embiid's a black hole with the ball is harsh. I think
he gets tired. He gets tired at the games.
Well,
Jokic doesn't get tired.
I was just gonna say everyone loves to make fun of Jokic for he's so fat. He's a fat slob. He doesn't even like basketball.
He's in shape.
He doesn't wear down.
No.
He looks like he's huffing and puffing after the first minute. He's the exact same player in the fourth quarter. He does not. He breaks your will, where it's the other way around. With Embiid, you just hamper him. The Celtics know it better than anyone. We basically invented the strategy. You just push this guy, and he'll break down with 5 minutes left in the game, like clockwork, over and over again. It's been his MO since he entered the league. So, like you said, I think a lot of it is bad luck, but how much of that bad luck, even with injuries, is him just not being that committed enough? As, like you said,
right.
You're in that, you want to be that 0.001% of athletes, especially at that size. You have to be 100% committed, and it's just never quite seemed like he fully is. I've never thought he was like, I don't give a shit guy, but the 100% commitment that you just need if you want to get to that level has always kind of been in question, and now it seems like it's more than in question. It's almost out in the open.
I think the only thing he's ever been committed to is trying to win an MVP.
Yeah.
That's really it. And I think it's a stark contrast to a guy like Tatum. A little bit of a homer in me here, but to him, it's always been, hey, how do I win a championship? And I think that speaks to who they are. And is that molded by the organization that Tatum grew up in, seeing banners hanging in the rafters, and that's what it's all about here? Or in Philly, where it's all about not that, clearly. Good question. I think you're onto something.
I think so. And I don't think that's being a homer at all. To look at the difference in the organizations is stark. And I mean, even when the Celtics, they traded Pierce, Garnett, everyone, and basically could have easily had our own version of the process. Instead, we hire Brad Stevens, and we're back in the playoffs within 1 year, fighting for Eastern Conference. Sixers, Embiid's never made a conference championship. We were making them with, Isaiah Thomas, Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, and Tatum got drafted his rookie year. He was the guy essentially by the end there on an Eastern Conference Finals team that came within a few minutes of going to the finals in Game 7 against LeBron James. So yeah, just a little bit of a contrast there between the two teams, the two superstar players, and sure enough, we get Jayson Tatum, who's basically an Iron Man. If there's one thing you can say about him, it's his consistency every single night, and Embiid kind of the opposite. So yeah, we've probably ranted on the Sixers about as much as we even have about the Celtics, but
damn shame what's happened to those Sixers. Yeah, damn shame.
Couldn't happen to a nicer team. But anyway, I guess as we've been talking about, it's kind of like a changing of the guard. Not that the Sixers really ever were at the top of the East, although they kind of fancied themselves that way, and they were certainly being spoken about in the past few years like they are at the top of the East. But now it seems like we face a team tonight in the Cavs that actually is vying for the top of the East with us. So it feels like that's kind of a trickle down across the whole league, where in years past it's been obviously the Celtics, and it's been kind of the Sixers, the Bucks, and the Heat have been those teams that are talked about as who's going to be there at the end. We talked about Philly just now, the Bucks, although they got a much needed couple of wins lately, they're still struggling. I think they're 6-9 on the season. They've got a world of their own problems, and the Heat, they always kind of just chug along at 500 in the regular season. But it seems like there's a changing of the guard where you're seeing this Cleveland team tonight. They look like the real deal. And again, even mathematically speaking, even with the loss tonight, it would almost be shocking without some major injuries if they didn't at least get a top 2 seed already. The Magic, even without Paolo, who says he's going to return before the end of the year, they've been the third best team. They are looking just unreal as ever on defense. They've got a ton of guys they can throw at you. Franz has taken a star leap. I think that might be even the third team. And then from there, it's probably some mix of, the Knicks, maybe the Pacers if they can figure it out.
The Pacers, I know what are they, 6-8, 6-9 right now?
They've just been struggling.
They can score though, and whenever they play us, the pace of that game,
they play us well, certainly.
They play us well. They're a bad matchup, I guess, is what not a bad matchup, but they match up well with us.
Yeah.
And I know it was a sweep in last year's Eastern Conference Finals, but that was a close series.
No, that was a very close series.
That was the toughest, I think, opponent we had throughout the whole playoffs. Definitely. I don't think they're dead yet. Yes.
No.
I think we are starting to have enough of a sample size in the regular season where we can start to make some assumptions about teams, and the fact that they're 6-8 or 6-9 isn't great, but well coached. Wouldn't count them out yet. Wouldn't be surprised if they go on a run and we see them again in the playoffs. I'd put them above, honestly. I think most people, if you ask, common fan, are going to say Bucks are going to figure it out because they got Giannis. I think there's still some belief in the Sixers, to be honest with you. Maybe not here, but elsewhere. And I think people still like the Knicks a lot. I would put, based on what I saw tonight, and again, one game, I don't watch every Cleveland Cavaliers game. I think the Cavaliers are the number one contender to the Celtics in the East right now. I don't think I would put the Knicks or Indiana too, to me. And then I would honestly put the Bucks below. I think the Bucks are an old, washed-up team. I don't know if I put them up as a real contender anymore. I don't know how you feel there.
I think I agree. And the one thing, I won't disrespect Giannis. He's still, I would say, the best player in the conference, and they've always got a shot because of that. But they've got a lot of very real issues. So as of right now, no, I really don't think they're on that contender track. I think the Cavs, and honestly, I don't think it's close for the top contender to the Celtics, at least right now. And then honestly, I don't know if you just forgot to mention them by accident, but I would put the Magic right behind them when Paolo gets back. I mean, their defense is unreal. We've seen them even in years past bring in trouble. They're getting minutes from Anthony Black, really good minutes now. Last year's top 10 pick. They added KCP, who's still an elite wing defender out there. And like I said, they've got some more guys who can shoot. And when Paolo was playing like a guy who was going to make an all-NBA team for sure, and now that he's out, Franz is playing like that too. So the offense was not there. I think last year that was what was holding them back, but we saw them a few times against us and we're like, oh, this team's going to be good. Well, they're good.
I've mentally blocked them out with Paolo being injured, admittedly.
They've won, I think, 6 in a row or something without him. They're
okay. Fair enough. You know ball. That's why you know ball.
That's why.
But yeah, it's the East in general. It's tough this year. There's no two ways about it. It doesn't look great, but That being said, we know when the playoffs roll around, injury luck plays so much part of that.
For sure.
Whoever gets snake bitten.
It's a war of attrition to an extent.
War of attrition. So we'll see how it goes. We're getting KP back. We're the prohibitive favorites by all accounts.
Definitely.
But gotta hope we stay healthy. And we'll see what happens to those other teams and how they develop throughout the year.
Yeah, just as an aside, how much do you think the 1 seed matters? Assuming Cleveland and Boston stay head and shoulders above the rest, do you care at all about
in that series specifically?
Well,
you're saying?
I'd say at this point it would be borderline shocking if it was anyone else. But assuming we're head and shoulders above those two teams, do you care about making a push to try to get that one or whatever?
No. To be honest, I don't. No. 1 or 2 seed, that's fine.
Yeah,
we're a better team.
Right. No, I agree. If we're healthy and clicking and fresh, nothing else should matter. Especially in years past, the playoffs, home or the road hasn't really seemed to matter a ton. Anyway, so yeah, I'd obviously rather get the 1 seed and have that game 7 at home to have the hammer kind of in your back pocket. But ultimately, it's not the top priority as much as rest, health.
Is the priority, especially with Porzingis coming back supposedly in December. Make sure he's good to go and make sure your guys are rested. Like Al, that's all I care about. And this team should go to the finals.
Yeah. Amen to that. I would say we are largely on the same page. So it's good. It's a good time. Good time to be a Celtics fan. Good time to be a part of Celtics Nation. Yeah,
how much coming up on the schedule other than the NBA Cup, obviously, which we're locked in for
massively.
I'm looking ahead, and there doesn't seem to be a ton to look forward to outside of that. And I know
we got the Timberwolves on Sunday. That's always a fun matchup.
T-Wolves on Sunday, but I know after the Cup and the Christmas Day games, we head into that lull. So I'm just enjoying some exciting basketball while we can until we hit that January, February stretch where things get pretty dicey. But as of now, it's good. We kind of get to enjoy the wins and all the losses that occur along the way. You just kind of roll off your back because we got that confidence now that we're champs. So it's been easy watching this season overall. I've enjoyed it. I've been much more – I'm still locked in, but I'm much more casual and namaste about everything that happens. Yeah. It's been quite enjoyable.
Exactly. That's been a common theme of this season. Even a night like tonight, a game that, would have taken years off my life in the past tonight. It was kind of stress-free. Even if the Cavs won, I've been like, all right, touche. We got a legit contender. But that was very, very calm, cool, and I think it's a representation of the players. We've come to that point where you just expect them to win close games. And it's an amazing feeling to all fans of other NBA teams out there. I recommend you try it sometime. Strongly recommend 10 out of 10 would try. So we're loving it. We'll be back Friday night, another 2 nights off. And then we've got another NBA Cup game. That will be in Washington. Celtics at Wizards, 2-11. The Wizards tied with Philly for the worst record in the entire NBA. We already saw them once. This is a really, really good Cooper Flag team. I'll just leave it at that. So
Jordan Poole, Cooper Flag, it could be a good duo. Who knows?
Honestly, I love Bilal Coulibaly quietly, very quietly, because nobody is watching the Wizards. But he's looked really good. They drafted him last year. He was Victor Wembanyama's teammate in France. He's got star potential. He looks really good. I like Bub Carrington this year. I thought was a good pick. Kayshawn George. They've got some solid young talent in there, but their goal this year is to get the best draft pick possible. So good opportunity for the Celtics to run up the score and flip those NBA Cup standings. I'm excited for it.
I'm gonna be scoreboard watching, margin watching.
Yeah.
It's not as Drew Carter said. It's what did he say? It's not optics. These differentials matter. I'll be locked in.
Yeah, you have to be. You absolutely have no choice but to be locked in. I can't wait. Bulls Hawks will also be on Friday night. That's in our group, so we'll be seeing what's going on over there. But good times coming up. That's Friday night. Another couple nights off. Good stuff. Thanks everyone for joining the podcast. Thank you to special guest NBA analyst Jeff Cupka. Always a pleasure when we get to chop it up. What's the Twitter handle, Jeff, so that people can go follow for all those hot takes?
Oh, at J Cupka, Cupka on Twitter. Catch me tweeting South stuff.
Love it.
Where I be.
Go give him a follow. Jeff will definitely be back on the show soon. And again, now that we've broken the curse, nothing holding us back from any more guest appearances in the future. So thanks everyone for listening. Go subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. We're on YouTube. Follow the show on all social medias at Chuddy's Corner. I'm at King Chuddy. Dugouts will be back next episode on Friday. That is the plan, at least, if he can make it back. Everybody have a great night. Go Celtics, and peace out, Chuddy Heads.